guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a great day. So today's video is all about weaning, as you can tell by the title. I've talked to you guys a little bit about my journey with weaning breastfeeding for my second baby. I had very different experiences with my first and second, and so I thought this video would be helpful. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about how we did it. When I weaned, I had no clue where to even begin, so I'll be telling you how exactly we went about it, the process, giving you tips and tricks, things I wish I would have done differently, things that worked for us. I'll have timestamps for everything in the description box down below because this will probably be a pretty lengthy video because I have a lot to say on the matter. And then I'm actually going to do a whole part 2 specific to the emotions of weaning because by golly, it was an emotional journey and it was one I did not expect to take in terms of the mental aspect of it. I feel like everybody talks about the baby when it comes to weaning and how we don't want to scar the baby and we want it to be as smooth as we can for them, but nobody really talks about how to make it as smooth as possible for the mama. So I hope that this video will help do that, and then stay tuned for part 2. Once that video is up, I'll link that down below as well too and edit the description, but let's jump into it. So to give a little background on our experience, I started working on weaning around 14 and a half months with my son Arlo. That was when I decided like, okay, I'm ready to start this. I nursed my first son until 15 and a half months, and there's no reason specifically that I picked that number. That's just kind of at the point where I felt like we were both ready. With my first, I ended up getting pregnant again with my now second, and it just naturally happened. My milk changed when I got pregnant. He lost interest. Like one day I was like, I'm gonna be done, and he was totally fine, and it was so smooth, and like neither one of us, it was completely pain-free. I never felt engorged. It was totally emotionally and physically pain-free. Second kid for me, however, has been a totally different story. It was quite the process. I definitely learned a lot. It's similar to potty training for me, where once you do it, you kind of feel like an expert, like you know where to go at least, but when you haven't done it, it's this foreign concept that is so scary for both of you. So with Arlo, I decided I wanted to start working on weaning with him around 14 and a half months, and at that point, I wouldn't consider I was weaning. I thought I was, but I wasn't actively working on it. I was just sort of saying no a little bit here and there. The process in general from when I first put effort in and first started denying took about 6 weeks. However, I would say I really only buckled down and kept track, which I'll talk about in a second, but I only buckled down for about 2.5 weeks. What I learned after is that was not enough time. So I'd say my first tip is like build in plenty of time if you are somebody who is looking to wean through a system or wean through a process. Build in plenty of time for you to do that so that it's easy on your body, it's easy on your emotions, and it's easier on both of you guys. For us, 2.5 weeks, it felt like a long time in the moment, and looking back on it, it totally was not, because I really struggled emotionally with it, and then I struggled physically once I weaned as well. Also, in terms of milk, Arlo has never been a baby that took milk, like any other kind of milk besides mama's milk. That's all he wanted. He never took cow's milk, never took almond, oat, pea, soy. We tried everything, every combination, every brand, everything. He had no interest in it, and his pediatrician said that's totally okay. He eats a ton, especially since we have been done breastfeeding. This kid is always eating. Everyone knows him as how much he's eating. Like, he always has food in his hand, but he would take juice and water fine from a sippy cup, so that was another reason why, you know, I felt like he was ready at that point. All right, so then jumping into the tips, my first tip, like I said, would be to get yourself on a schedule, or schedule yourself out specific sessions and plan out how you're going to cut out those sessions. Everything I read about weaning, that was the only thing I could find on the internet, was like drop 1 session at a time. That's what everything said. It said if you're nursing 3 times a day, you drop 1 session and you go down to 2, blah, blah, blah. However, the issue was Arlo was always nursed on demand. He's a COVID baby. Let's get honest. Like, these pandemic babies have not a lot of structure in their day. Babies in general don't have a ton of structure, but pandemic babies definitely don't. And so I was always nursing him on demand. We never had any kind of schedule. We never had any specific amount of sessions. So the very first thing I had to do was count how often we were nursing on an average, just casual day, and then go from there. When I first started counting, you guys, he was still nursing 7 times a day at 15 15 months old, he was nursing 7 times a day just by doing it on demand. Sorry if you hear my dog barking. So needless to say, I was tired and I was ready to tone it down a bit. I would start to deny him a little bit, which I'll talk about that in a second, and just sort of try and redirect his attention, and we got it down to 5 times a day, and that was when I really started working on cutting out the sessions. So I would plan out, we would do 5 times a day or naturally at that point, like kind of still naturally weaning on demand. Then I went down to 3 times a day. From there I went down to 2 times a day after a few days, and then 1 time a day or once a day, and then cutting it out from there. So either way, look at a calendar. I talked about this in my potty training video, but it's the same thing with weaning. Set a start date for yourself. Set a start date, build it into your calendar the same way you would anything else that you are starting, because this is a commitment and it's something that is going to be a big part of your day. It's going to be a big focus for you. So set a start date and build yourself a schedule and go from there. For me, I kind of worked backwards. So I set myself an end date. I set a date that I knew I wanted to be done by. For me, I knew I wanted to be done by August 1st. He was 16 months then, and it just felt like a good way to start the new month. We were traveling a lot. I didn't want to be worried about nursing like on a plane and whatever. And so I set the end date and then kind of went back from there. But whatever works for you, set a date, schedule yourself out some session dropping. So I mentioned distractions. Tip number 2 is to offer food and drink instead of nursing. That was really the biggest thing for us. Whenever Arlo would want to nurse, and he was almost 16 months old, so he was a very pushy baby. He'd pull my shirt down, he would pull at my bra, he'd cry on my boobs in public. The very first thing I did was offer him a snack instead, or offer him water instead. And I would say 8 times out of 10, he wanted that food instead. He was actually just hungry, but because he had been nursed so much on demand, I had never gotten a real full raw glimpse at how much food he could actually put away, and that boy can eat. So when I started offering him food instead, that was oftentimes the solution to our issue in the moment, or we'd have a sippy cup with a water bottle, whatever it is nearby, and usually that could distract him away in the moment. If it couldn't distract him though, tip number 3 is that any form of a distraction is key. Play with a new toy. Bust out in song out of nowhere. Put on their favorite music and start a dance party. Get them outside of the house and go for a walk. Switch up your routine. Get them going. Get them distracted. Anything to stimulate their brain and redirect that focus will help you in that moment. Usually if food or water didn't work, some sort of distraction like playing, singing, dancing, getting out of the house and going on a walk, those types of things would help pull me out of those moments where all he wanted to do was nurse. And you don't have to do it every single time. Like I said, I would still nurse him, but to help drop those sessions, that distraction is what's going to help. Tip number 4, this is another one I didn't hear many people talk about, but wearing non-nursing friendly clothing will be a game changer. So I talk a lot about nursing friendly pieces. However, non-nursing friendly pieces will help you wean. So anything that's like high cut, bodysuits are great, fitted items, t-shirt dresses, stuff that they can't pull up, because what makes it even harder in those moments when they really want it and you're really trying to stick to your plan, what makes it harder is when they can just access it on their own, right? Like if they can just pull your bra open, pull your shirt open and get in there themselves, it's a little harder to deny them. But if they physically can't find their way in, that's gonna end up benefiting you. And it sounds harsh, but I promise you it's those little steps that will end up just working to your benefit in the moment and working to your long game, right? It sounds so silly, but the harder it is for them to access, the better. Tip number 5, this was a big one for us. Avoid your go-to nursing spots. It's kind of bittersweet because it's sort of stuck with us. Like I'm staring at our rocking chair right now. I nursed Christian in that chair. I nursed Arlo in that chair, and it has kind of become Jordan's spot for them now, which I will talk more about in a second, but that used to be a go-to nursing spot. I would sit down and I would nurse Arlo to sleep, or I would nurse him in our bed, or I would nurse him on the couch. So for a few weeks there, I could not sit down on any of those comfy spots with him, because if I did sit down, he thought it was time to nurse. The babies will always associate those spots, those repeat spots, they'll always associate that with nursing, because to them, that's their comfort, that's their bonding at this time. It doesn't mean the comfort and the bonding is going anywhere. PSA, I should have said this in the beginning, but you can still have an insane special bond. You can still be mama bear. You can still have kiddos that are mama's kids, mama's boys, mama's girls, whatever, without nursing. So let me say that, because that has been a big fear of mine with both kids when it comes time to stop nursing, and It doesn't change anything bond-wise. But anyways, avoiding those go-to spots will help you a lot. It kind of goes back to that tip of switching it up, keeping them moving, keeping things going and fluid and different. You just don't want to go back to the same spots that they're used to. Number 6, now this can be the tough one, but if possible, if you are someone who nurses for naps and bedtime, if you nurse your baby to sleep, try and have somebody else take over those moments for you. I know it is a privilege to even be able to say that. I am so blessed that Jordan is at home with us, and that the times when I was nursing Arlo to bed or nursing him down for a nap, I was able to have my husband step in and do that instead. And I will tell you, it's a learning period for sure. Like getting the baby used to it, getting the husband used to it. It's a nitty-gritty thing. It is not a seamless transition for everybody. It doesn't mean it can't be a seamless transition, but I want to be honest. I don't want anyone watching this thinking like, oh, her husband just stepped in and like started doing it easy peasy, because it wasn't. It was tough. This whole thing is tough sometimes. However, it helped us immensely, and I have heard from so many people that that is the game changer for them, because oftentimes that nighttime nurse session, that nursing to sleep, oftentimes that's the last one to be dropped for people. That's the toughest one to end. And so if you can have somebody else take over those moments, that can often be the game changer. And I would say have your partner take over the nighttime, the nap time routine. Have them take over before you even start the weaning process. So for us, Jordan started doing bedtime and naps for Arlo probably about 2 weeks before I started weaning, so that when it came time to start weaning, Arlo was already familiar with going down with him. It was a seamless transition for him at that point, because we had already gotten through the stage of him. Like, he was used to Jordan being the last face he saw before he fell asleep versus me. You don't want to switch up so many things that it leaves the baby feeling like, I don't want to say rattled, but that it makes them more moody with it, like, because that will just be harder on you. So it's sort of like if you can get one transition taken care of in advance, it will make the next one just a little bit easier for you. Tip number 7 is set a deadline with a reward at the end, so you have something to work towards. Again, going back to that scheduling piece, going back to working backwards a little bit. If you have your eye on the prize, you have something at the end. Maybe it is a vacation you want to take, maybe it's a non-nursing friendly outfit, maybe it's a really good dessert or a glass of wine, or I talked in my videos about how for me it was Botox. I wasn't weaning so I could get Botox. However, it was something I wanted to do whenever the time came to wean. And so what better thing to motivate you than the one thing you've been waiting to do, you know, whatever that might be. It could be something big or small, but set a reward for yourself at the end of it so that you have something to work up to. In those really tough moments, that will be the thing that like will motivate you to get through, just rewarding yourself that you have made it through that chapter, that you have closed that book, and you are on to the next phase of life. Okay, and then number 8, my last tip, and I'll get into some more advice too, don't worry, but tip number 8 is trust your gut. Have confidence in your decision. There is so much out there in the motherhood community. There are so many opinions. There is so much advice. There is so much overwhelming attitude at times, for lack of a better word. And especially when it comes to breastfeeding, it is one of those topics where there's always going to be somebody who thinks you're doing the right thing and somebody who thinks you're doing the wrong thing. When I announced that, or when I shared about us weaning, I actually made a post on Instagram that I made a reels, and it like made me cry when I watched it, and I got so much support and people were so kind. But there was somebody on there who was like, he's too big to be nursing, which was not even the point of the post. But my point is that no matter what, there's going to be people who are like, you're doing a great job, mama, I agree. And there's going to be people who are like, I wouldn't do it that way, and let me tell you why. So have confidence in your decision. If you are watching this at this point, it's probably because you're showing some interest in weaning. Own it. There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't want to wean, awesome. Own it. Keep going. You don't have to. But either way, when it gets tough, because it might, when it gets tough and you start to doubt yourself and you start to lack that confidence, shake that off. Hear my voice in your head telling you that you're doing right by yourself, you're doing right by your baby. Because at the end of the day, nobody knows your life and your situation and your family and your child like you do. You know what's best for them more than anybody else in the world. So own that, trust your gut. That is what will help you push through, I promise you. I actually asked a bunch of questions on Instagram. At the time that I started weaning, I asked like for different opinions on if it was tough for people, if it wasn't tough for people, who initiated the weaning, if it was mommy or baby. And I was so shocked by the percentage of how many weaned because the mother initiated it. And that helped ease my guilt so much, because I did have some mom guilt associated with weaning initially. And that's why I want to do a whole video just on the emotions about it. But when I asked people and I saw how many people decided to wean themselves versus the baby initiating it, it just helped ease my thoughts so much. So I thought I would share that, just because if you are feeling those doubts, you know, don't, because there's likely other people out there going through the exact same thing that you are. Okay, now we're gonna talk about engorgement a little bit, because like I said, I left 2.5 weeks to wean, and that did not end up being enough time emotionally or physically for me. Arlo did fine. Like I said, people don't talk about the mama enough. So Arlo was fine. He was good with being done at the end of those 2.5 weeks. However, for me, my hormones were sent for a loop. I had to really work to get my milk supply down. I thought my milk supply was fine, but I didn't realize how much I was actually still producing until I weaned, and until I weaned completely. So the number one thing I want to say to help with engorgement is cabbage. Now, I also heard conflicting opinions on cabbage, because I hear conflicting opinions on everything. And I will say, someone messaged me and mentioned that they took a lactation course and that cabbage is not recommended because it could lead to different like bacterial infections and stuff. So I just want to throw that out there. I'm not telling you you have to do cabbage. That's my like little disclaimer. However, it is something in terms of my story, it's something I found myself continuing to go back to because it actually worked. Apparently there's like sulfur or different acids in it or something. I honestly don't even know the science behind it. I'm sure you could Google it and read up on it. But for whatever reason, cold cabbage would ease my engorgement like no other. I do have some other alternatives I'll share with you. But what I would do is actually just peel back one layer of cabbage at a time and put it in a Tupperware thing like this. So you've got like stacked layers like that. And whenever I felt my milk come in, felt it, and I would let it go. So I would let it go to a point where it felt like unbearable. But once it got to a point where I felt like I needed some relief, you just take one leaf, you put it on in your bra, and I swear after, like, I would just leave it in until the cabbage felt warm. It's gross. It smells, y'all. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. However, it works. And desperate times call for desperate measures. But once it started feeling warm, I would take it out and my chest would feel like I had just pumped. Like, it gave me relief like no other. So if you find yourself in a moment of wanting something that will actually help, I can recommend this as something that actually worked for me. However, a kit, I actually found this kit that I wish I would have found in the very beginning of weaning. I didn't find it until the very end, but this Freedom Mom kit changed my experience and also gave me relief like no other product has. It didn't work as well as the cabbage, but it worked pretty dang well. I lost the slip cover to it, so I'll put a picture here so you can see what it looks like in the store. I just got it at Target. And what's great about this kit is that it comes with several different products to help you. The first thing that it comes with is this little vibrator, which is not as naughty as it looks. But this is like one of those, mine's dead because it's just been sitting there for like a couple months now. But you turn it on and it will vibrate, and you can put it around your chest and like work out any clogged ducts or lumps, or just ease that engorgement that way. I did get a clogged duct during the time that I was weaning. I didn't get it until we had completely weaned, but after I had completely weaned Arlo, when I was still making milk and still working on getting my engorgement to go down, I got a clogged duct and I had never had one before, so I had no idea how to work it out, and this thing helped me so much. And you can buy them separately, but getting it in the kit, you get so much more with it too. You get more for your money. So this thing really helped. And then in addition to that, it also comes with 2 of these masks. I showed these in one of my lifestyle favorites videos. Freedom Mom makes these masks, which are supposed to be an alternative to the cabbage, because then you're not putting cabbage in your bra, but they are made from cabbage and a few other things. To me, it just felt like a breast mask, or like it felt like one of those sheet masks you would wear on your face, but on your boob, which is nice. Like, it felt like pampering. It didn't feel like it actually reduced my milk supply though, but if you need some cooling, if you do need a little bit of relief, they'll help with that. This Freedom Mom kit actually comes with 2, so you get 1 for hydration to ease sore boobs, and then you get one for lactation if you're trying to up your milk production too. So I thought that was kind of cool, just that it comes with both of those. The real kicker though, the thing that came in this kit that I really loved is that it has these like heat packs. Now the heat packs also helped my relief and helped me feel like my milk was actually going down. The combination of these heat packs with this are what worked out the clogged duct for me. They have a couple different sizes, so they have this one that's like full boob size, they have this one that's like a little half boob size, and then you click open or you click this little metal thing inside. When you bend that in half, it will go completely hard and heat up, and it's like a hot pack. If you're from the Midwest or the East Coast, you probably have seen the hand warmer versions of these. We used to use them in Ohio all the time. These are like that, but for your boobs. Like I said, it comes with a few of them, and then it also comes with this little mesh bag. And to liquefy them, again, you just put them in boiling water, and then you can use them multiple times. This is what it looks like when it's like all hard. But yeah, those were super, super helpful for me. So all in all, getting all of that in one kit is just like a game changer. If you are going to pursue weaning at all and you are worried about your milk production, I would highly recommend just getting yourself this kit from the get-go, because it's 100% worth it in my opinion. Another thing I tried, which I honestly can't attest to like how much it worked, but maybe some of you guys have tried it too, but it's this No Flow by Pink Stork. Pink Stork is a brand I really like. I've used several of their products through pregnancy and postpartum, and this one is supposed to help slow down your milk production. I got this kind of midway through the weaning process. This is another thing I wish I would have started using sooner, but when desperation hit, that's when I added this in, and I think it helped. Honestly, the things like cabbage, the things like the Freedom Mom kit, that's what I actually like physically could feel a difference, but I did start taking this too just to help. It actually took about 2 full weeks from the last time I nursed Arlo to the time when I felt like I had no more milk left. It took 2 weeks for me to completely rid my milk supply. So I'm only giving that time frame just to give you an idea, because I've never had to actually taper off my supply like that, and I had no idea what to expect. So maybe that'll be helpful for some of you guys. But yeah, you could pick some of this up at, I think I got it on Amazon, or you could find it at Target too if you're looking to add that in. And then the last product I wanted to mention is actually for emotional support. So I mentioned that I will be talking about the emotional side of weaning in a whole different video, but let me tell you, it threw my emotions for a loop. And I heard from some of you guys that it did that for you. If you're going through that, no, you are not alone. Like, it made me feel a little crazy. I like went back to therapy. I got back on antidepressants. But something else that helped me is this Hormonal Rebalance by Ray. This is a brand I also really like. I get their stuff at Target, and I have taken their like de-stress pills, and I've taken their detox pills and stuff like that. This Hormonal Rebalance is just supposed to give hormonal support for women. Their things actually taste really nice too. They have like a little minty flavor, so I don't mind taking them, but this was something that I just added into my daily routine just to help give me a little bit of support with my hormones and try and balance things out, because they are adjusting so much when you're weaning. Likewise, I actually would take some of my placenta capsules. I talked in a couple videos when I had Arlo about how I encapsulated my placenta at the time, and if you did that or do that, I would recommend saving some of those for when you wean, because you're basically putting back the hormones that you lost through your placenta. And when you are weaning, your body, I don't know, again, I don't know the science behind it. I'm not a scientist, but I'm just telling you what I did that worked for me. Putting that back in and sort of balancing out my hormones that way, I felt like it helped. So I would mainly take these, and I would take the No Flow, but then on days when I felt like I was really emotionally struggling, I would pop a couple placenta pills too. And last but not least, I just want to mention, if you do feel like you need help, talk to your doctor. There is no shame in getting help mentally and emotionally if you need it. Talk to the people around you, because they don't know what's going on unless you tell them. If you are struggling physically with weaning, if you need help and support physically with from anybody that's nearby you, ask for the help. There's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, I feel like weaning can be similar to the postpartum period, where it's like we need a lot of help, but people just sometimes don't realize it. So just say it. There's nothing wrong with that, but talk to your doctor, get the help you need if you feel like you need it, because this is a journey, and I don't want to scare anybody, but I more so just want to empower you that ask ask for help. Nobody has to go through this stuff alone, you know? Okay guys, I talked a ton, but I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gave you some tips when it comes to the weaning process. Let me know any questions you guys have. I'm an open book, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.